Good evening. Tonight, in between binging Top Gear and baking cookies, I also found time to watch Despicable Me 3. If you remember last summer, last summer I I had watched Despicable Me 4 and I made a whole video about it because it was stuck in my head to a very normal extent, to the point where when my YouTube Wrapped came out that year, my most listened to song was Double Life by Pharrell Williams. And in that video, I mentioned that I hadn't actually seen Despicable Me 3 in so long that I fully did not remember what happens in it. However, I just watched it. It is currently sometime 12 a.m., approaching 1 a.m. in the morning. But this is okay because today, well, yesterday was a Saturday. Today's a Sunday, and I have nothing going on Monday. So we are fully chill with staying up way too late talking about things that probably do not matter. However, I find it very important that I actually critically think about the things that I watch and consume and all that pretty jazz because I do like and want to work as a kind of director for either theater or anything of the sort. That's what I want to do with my life because I find it fun. And therefore, I overanalyze just about everything. And so I have about 4 pages of notes on Despicable Me 3. And that is not even all that I had to say about it. Okay, so how about we jump into it? Also, if my delivery all of a sudden sounds really, really different from previous videos, it is. I am now noticing my delivery is very different, and it is because of Top Gear. I've been watching Top Gear a lot. I have watched a lot less YouTube than I usually do because YouTube sucks as a platform at this point. So I just downloaded the entirety of Top Gear with Clarkson, Hammond, and May, and I'm watching that right now. And if my voice sounds similar to the way they present their talking points and the show in general, you understand why. It's because Clarkson is my inside voice now, a lot, and I don't know how to feel about that. Let's get to the point. Okay, so number one point, the intro is really bad. The intro is clunky, bad, and just generally not the best. I would have definitely done things very differently. So number one, the whole movie opens with this news anchor presenter type person explaining who Balthazar Brat, the main bad guy of this movie, who he is, what he does. Who is he? Why? Why does this happen? Because I do not understand the point of this, because it happens purely for audience exposition when it could have been more smoothly integrated into the plot without having this very strange beginning. Um, I'm not going to say it's bad, like on its own. On its own, it's fine, it's whatever. But when it combines into the movie, I think it's just very clunky and just not good in general. I would have definitely done something else. I would have probably started with Brad and Clyde starting the heist and explaining who he is after the heist. Something of the like. Another thing that I really, really didn't like was how the whole plot starts and with that, whatever the guy's name was, the head of the anti-villain league, how he retires and this new lady comes around. I would have rather that happened before the plot started or something like that. Otherwise, it's just so strange. Also, that lady appears for realistically one real scene and one imagination sequence. And I have things to say about that imagination sequence as well, but we're gonna get there. I feel like it could have been done a lot better. I would have personally started the story with her already in charge, with it being said that, like, oh, and ever since whatever her name is came as head of the anti-villain league, things have been so much tougher on us trying to do our jobs. Explain why perhaps she isn't like the why she's different from whatever the other guy's name was. I remember it in Latvian, I don't remember it in English. Um and yeah, that whole scene, secondhand embarrassment. Gru, please stop talking. Gru, Gru, um, please shut up. Please shut up because it's just so uncomfortable to watch. Yeah, I did not like that. The whole beginning, I would rework it somehow entirely different. However, the first fight between Gru and Brat was really good. That was no notes. Also, the whole nudity joke was mm, it's fine. I think it would have still worked if there was no nudity, but that's what I think. Um Gru's banter after he was fired, that no, before he got fired, that was really good. And another thing about before that, the title card, really bad. Really, really bad. I did not like it at all. It came out of nowhere. It just it just happened and I didn't like it. Could have been better. Back to Gru bantering, or just scrambling. It just feels so natural. And it's just like, for people who haven't seen the previous movies, it's just such a good introduction to his character. Yes, the first movie did it better with the scene of, for example, when he first went to the Bank of Villainy or whatever it was called, and he does the thing with the cars, or he pops the kid's balloon. That was all so good without having anything to say. He didn't have to talk. It's the thing of don't show, don't tell. But literally, because he's not talking, he's doing these things, and it's funny. It's so funny. However, it's fun listening to him just talk. I find it really endearing. I just love these characters in general, and just having him just yap a little bit about his, just like venting his frustrations. It's so fun. Like him getting to like talk about things he thinks and feels with Lucy. Amazing, incredible. I love that. What else? Um the whole family is just adorable and I love them so much. Again, I love these characters. They're so fun and unique and dynamic, and they're just so sweet. Like, you can really tell that they love each other. Like, yes, this is a very interesting family coming together story, but you can, like, I believe that they really do love each other and they don't just say it. That's the thing. Again, it's the show don't tell thing of where they do these really, really sweet and nice things. They don't just say that they love each other. They do things that show it. And that's why I believe it when very cute, sweet things happen, that these characters are a family, and it's great. I'm a sucker for found family. I wonder why. The minions unionizing. Okay. I'm not against the idea, but I have a point about this later. Um was this necessary? I'm not sure. Emotional vulnerability from Gru talking about his thoughts and feelings. Again, it's great. It is great. He gets to talk about his thoughts and feelings. And I love that. And honestly, I wish there was more of an exchange of that between Gru and Lucy, them like talking about their thoughts and feelings about things. I wish that was more of a thing. But it's great to see anyways. Like, oh my goodness. Have a male character who isn't emotionally constipated. Imagine that. Agnes is adorable. Um Gru's mom's a bitch. Like, why is she like that? I like holy shit. And this makes me also wonder, has she ever met Lucy? Gru's mom. Has she met Lucy? Because I wonder what that would be like. I really do. But honestly, Gru's mom's such a bitch. She doesn't deserve anything. Drew's a lot. Like, I don't want to say annoying because I don't. Mm, he is just too much. Personally, I like that they make fun of that fact later, which I have a point about that too. I guess it's like character psychology. I guess it's like the whole thing of wanting that praise because it is mentioned later on how their father didn't really think highly of Drew at all. And it's like kind of like I relate to that just being way too nice and way too much off the bat to try and get like approval from other people. That's understandable and I completely get that, but like it's just a little off-putting to watch, and I understand if that was the point. I just feel like it could have been done differently where it didn't come across as like just like where it didn't come off as the character just being intrinsically annoying. I have another point about this, but I'm gonna mention it now. I feel like it would have been better if Drew had a completely different voice. Like, I wouldn't even mind if it was the same voice actor. If it was kind of that tone or something. Like if it was like a little higher pitch, but just don't make it squeaky and don't do the Russian accent. I feel like that would have been great because that implies that grew that their dad was also with a Russian accent because we know that their mom has that accent, but we don't know nothing about the dad. So like, did he also have that accent? Sure, perhaps, but I would have liked to see that difference because maybe like another point would have been how perhaps people find Groob's accent like off-putting off the bat and how Drew has that over him that he doesn't have this accent and that he comes across as a little different. Maybe he has an Italian accent because despite like the like I don't know where the country or whatever was, like it looks both Balkan and Italian at the same time. And I don't like that is interesting. That's cool. But also like it's confusing because those are like two completely different parts of the world. Like opposite sides of Europe. So like okay. But yeah. I love when Brad says I hate that dweeb. That was so funny. I found that really funny. Okay, Gru doesn't know about his dad, like at all. He was under the impression that he had died. Okay. Like when he was born. Okay. Um but realistically, even in the second Minions movie, it is established that this guy knows a lot about villains. He does. And in like it is established that this guy is very knowledgeable, very in tune with the workings of the villain world in this universe. So how would he not know that his dad was like this insanely cool fucking anti James Bond, I guess? Cuz like if he was that prolific as Drew claims and as it seems, I feel like people would know that. And I mean, perhaps people didn't know that that was his father. Maybe he didn't know that either. But also, I feel like that fully doesn't make sense because they do have a really, really strong resemblance. And I mean, maybe. But also, the fact that Gru doesn't have like a reaction of, oh, wait, it's that guy. I know about him. It doesn't make sense, especially if he's working or was working with the Anti-Villain League. Then I feel like he should have known. It just doesn't really make sense because even in the second movie, it is established that he knows villains. He should know about his father. Like he can identify El Macho after 20 years and like that aging, even under the impression that El Macho is dead. So like inconsistency in the movie logic. And it wouldn't have made that big of a difference if he did know, in all reality. It really wouldn't have. Even if he knew the guy but didn't know that was his dad, that would have still been fine. So I don't really understand this dynamic. One thing that I did really like was how Drew mentioned that their dad was really proud of Gru. That's just so sweet. Again, I am emotionally invested in these characters, and hearing that, amazing, incredible, especially with how big of a bitch his mom is. Like, nuh-uh, nuh-uh. That was wonderful. I realized I knew this fact before. I had heard it before. I forgot it. The voice actress for Lucy also does the voices of Lola Bunny and Rough Nut in How to Train Your Dragon. And I was like listening, thinking, why does she sound so familiar all of a sudden? And then I realized, yeah, I've seen so many the Looney Tunes show clips. Of course I know who she is. That's Lola Bunny. So that was very stupid of me. I really like how intense Lucy is as a character. I just think it's so fun. Like, she's just like Agnes screams and she goes in guns a-blazing, and that is perfect. I love that. That is amazing. Lucy never changed. I also love that Gru is allowed to be hyper competent, just like Lucy. Lucy less so. I don't know why people, not people, but the writers are constantly trying to like undercut her for the sake of Gru. It's probably just misogyny, but like I really like that Gru is not the bumbling idiot, like ever actually. Drew is sure, fine, whatever. But Gru knows what he's doing and he does it well. And that's why he was like one of the top tier villains, even if people make fun of him for uh reverting to anti-villain nonsense. But he is good at what he does, and I think that's great. Okay. Point. There are, again, just like in the fourth movie, there are just too many plots going on all at once. There's the subplot with Gru and Drew, Agnes and Edith, Margot and Lucy, the Minions, plus Balthazar. That's 5 different groups of characters that we have to cycle between. And it bogs down a lot of scenes, and it's just stupid. I just think it's too much. The movie loses its focus. Sure, they come together at the end and it's nice. And I like plots like that. I like when there are separate elements that all work to be together at the end. That is great. That's amazing. This is not the case, though. This case is, there's just too much going on, and the important things can't stay their welcome because we have to switch between them constantly. I have another point about that in a bit. I love how middle-aged Dad Gru is. It's great. I love my middle-aged dad characters who are allowed to be such. It is great. I love it. Them pretending to be each other was very cute. I don't know why everybody else was not having it. I thought that was funny as hell and just like so cool. And that was like an amazing way to like show that they had bonded. I think that was great. Lucy wanting to be a good mom but opting out of telling the girls any of the difficult things is interesting. And here I wrote down, I hope this pays off in the movie. It didn't. And I don't know how to feel about that because two times after they get fired and telling Agnes that unicorns aren't real, both times Lucy is immediately like, I won't tell them. I won't tell them. I'm not gonna tell her. Somebody else do it. And yet she's like trying to be like a good mom to the girls. That's what they're called. I don't that's what we're calling them. But like at the same time, it's just so weird because it's clear that she seems to want to be the cool parent, like how the classic dynamic is that, oh, the dad's the cool guy who's cool and fun, and mom's the nagging no nonsense, um I don't want to say curse words. And she's kind of flipping it the opposite way where she's getting Gru to say these difficult things, which is an interesting flip, but also you can't be like a particularly good parent if you refuse to acknowledge anything, if you don't want to have difficult conversations with your children. And it's like, it's weird that it happens twice, is the thing. If it happened once, okay, alright, that's fine. But it happens twice, so it's building a motif. And I know we're talking about Despicable Me 3, but the fact that it happens twice, that's building a motif. That is asking for a solution to this, a payoff, something, anything, and it doesn't happen. And I find that weird, because, like, why would you have that happen twice? Are you trying to build this character to be non-confrontational? Because Lucy is not non-confrontational. She is very confrontational. Yeah, I just think it's really strange. And the fact that it doesn't pay off, it kind of pisses me off because it would have been very interesting if it did, but it doesn't. So what was the point? The minions get arrested for trespassing, or did their war crimes finally come to light? That is a genuine question. Why were they in prison? The minions returning to Gru was a bit sudden, understandable, but isn't built up too well. The thing they were going for, great, wonderful. No one takes care of them the way Gru does. Perfect, amazing. There's a reason why he is the villain they have stuck to the longest. And it makes sense, yes. But the way it happens in the scene, I don't understand it. Like, I would have liked if it was shown more that they were having like a hard time somehow. Like, yes, they're basically ruling the prison. Amazing, incredible, good for them. But like, just like have things happen. Like, maybe it's uncomfortable to fall asleep in the prison, or it's just kind of not the same without having someone to tell them things to do, order them around, and they won't submit to these other guys. These other guys are losers. Also, the fact that they didn't look for another villain was interesting. So yeah, that's curious. Now let's make it a reality. It's a quote from Brad, and this is another point. Brad, I think, had the potential of being a great villain. He is actually quite fun, and I like him for it. But why does the movie undercut him so much? I don't know. Was it... No, it's not even just the voice actor. I want to blame the voice actor, but it's not the voice actor's fault. Even the way he is animated, the way his scenes play out. I understand he's a loser. That's the whole point. He is an absolute fucking loser. But I would have really liked if he had more presence. If, like, this line specifically, it ends a scene, but its delivery was something so, ugh, it was just so pathetic. That line, let's make it a reality. He is referring to the TV show episode that he is trying to recreate in real life, which is like the climax of the entire movie. And he says, now let's make it a reality. And the scene immediately cuts to Agnes looking for a unicorn. And the way it's delivered, it's so sudden and without any presence at all. And it's pathetic. It really is. That should have been like, if I were to shoot this scene, it would have been like a head-on shot with him, Kubrick, staring into the distance saying that, and it would have been a fade to black, fade into the next scene. Give him that villainous presence. He is good when he is active, when he is being his bratty self, and that's fun. But why does the movie undercut him actually having a villainous presence? He's fun with fight scenes, he is fun with banter with Clyde. Great, amazing, but why can't you let him be at least a little bit threatening? I understand he's a loser, but even losers can be threatening. And it would have been great to see him be a little, like, villainous. So yeah, and it comes back. There's another point I'm gonna make about this. When Nico, the little boy, comes with his mom to marry Margot, the mom came on not strong enough. I feel like she should have had more energy, and I wrote Lucy could have been more intimidating. She could have. And honestly, I feel like that whole scene was too short. It was lacking in exchange. Like, the mom says something, Lucy says something back, and the scene is basically immediately over. I would have liked if Lucy was like, hey lady, you are being unreasonable. Then the lady is more unreasonable, and then Lucy goes in. Or Lucy comes back with an attitude, the lady grows her energy, and Lucy grows her energy more, and therefore scaring the lady off. Because otherwise it just doesn't have an impact. And if the scene was a little bit longer with a lot more energy, I don't remember what it was in Latvian, but we talk about this in theater. Now, I'm studying and all. Where you need, like, emotional building. You need to build up an emotion for it to have more impact. Here, it wasn't built up enough over enough time, and that's why Margot's hug at the end felt so, like, it was cute. Don't get me wrong, it's cute, but it didn't have the emotional payoff it needed. Because of that non-existent building. Like, it felt kind of too much for not enough. In reality, yes, that would have been great. If in reality, I see that happening in our real world, but this isn't our real world. This is Despicable Me universe, where people decide to make their career path being a villain, where people are just kind of unhinged generally, where Lucy can barge into a bar, beat up a bunch of people, and have no consequences for that. Where little yellow pill guys walk around. Like, there wasn't enough, is my point. There should have been more. Screaming the goat in the big, whenever this movie was released, boo, tomato, 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 tomato. Imagination scene where Gru imagines what would happen if he did return the diamond. Don't have it, or place it when Gru decided that they were going to steal the diamond. Because they decided to do this at the beach, and the imagination scene doesn't play out until they're actually in the heist. And my whole thing is, either have that imagination scene at the beach, which would have taken away from the beach scene, or don't have it at all. just leave it implied until the very end when Gru is admitting in the helicopter why he did this. And maybe even have like it lingering in the air. Oh, is Gru actually returning to villainy? Did he actually mean to return the diamond? Did he just want to spite Brat? Did he just say that because he wanted to make Lucy happy? These are interesting questions. And even if you didn't want to linger on that long enough, the scene, the confrontation about giving the diamond away between Drew and Gru happens right after, so it wouldn't even linger that long. Don't have the imagination scene is my point. It is stupid and unnecessary. Drew asking for guidance and then getting upset when asked to follow the lead. I understand that. It would have been interesting if perhaps they like had a scene where they were bouncing ideas off of each other about how to perform the heist instead of Gru coming through with everything. Drew, give us some ideas, show that you also want to participate more. Because earlier on, he does ask, Gru, please help me figure out how to do this properly. But when he is being told, yeah, so follow along, I guess, and watch how I do it, just don't make a mess, he's like, okay, fine. And it's like, dude, what's the matter? And Gru should have had a better argument for why Drew was to be the getaway driver. I understand his whole thing, Gru's whole thing, is that he wanted to perform the heist himself, spite Brad, get the diamond himself, blah blah blah, loner type shit. Wonderful, amazing, good. But his whole argument for why Drew was to be the getaway driver, absolute garbage. He didn't even have one, really, when there is a very, very obvious reason why Drew shouldn't come along to the mission. He is inexperienced, he doesn't know what he's doing, and getaway driving would have actually been a very, very good, important thing to do. So, that's how he should have approached this, like, as a character. And it wouldn't have even made that big of a difference because Drew could have still been like, but I want to participate in the action. And the scene would have played out wholly the same. So I don't know why they wrote it like that. Honestly, I felt like the getting into the base was kind of stupid. Like the slapstick took away from the scene. I would have really liked to see like not it not being there at all, but it being like toned down to the point where Drew isn't interrupting Gru being hyper competent at what he does, because it's fun watching hyper competent characters do what they do best. Like, it's so fun. Like, whew, that's why that scene in Shrek 2 with Puss stealing the potion is so fun. That's why I can't imagine another scene. That's why come on. I know another scene. Come on. That's why like the escape scene in Tintin 2011 was so fun to watch. Like when he escapes from the hall in the Caribou Jan and meets the captain for the first time. And like stuff like that. And that's why that one sequence in the same movie 2011 Tintin, why that scene in Bagar where it's like the one shot chase scene for the Falcon and the scrolls, why that was so entertaining to watch. Not only is it an unbroken shot, which is really impressive, but also it's fun watching how nothing can stop Tintin. It's great. I love that. And I would have loved to watch Gru be hyper competent and Drew just kind of trailing behind. Yes. Gru sympathetic to Drew. I really like that part. I was a bit mixed because Drew comes on with a, oh, I shouldn't have eaten, I feel sick. And Drew comes with this and Gru comes with this compassion, when I feel like it should have started with Drew suddenly being insecure, with him being like, you know what, I think I messed up, I don't think I can do this, like actual like fear, anxiety, insecurity instead of, oh, I ate too much, I feel sick. Because then that sympathy is earned, and I would have liked that. I really like Gru's line delivery. Oh my god. Like, Will Ferrell is actually really good as Gru. Minion classism, for some reason. Okay. Okay, yes, this. What was the point of the toy on the ground that Drew steps on if the alarm sounded anyways? That was completely pointless. Just have the alarm ring. That's it. Gru was willing to save Drew before himself, like in the part where the Rat Pack were chasing them out. Gru actually grabs Drew, flings him out the door as it's closing, and only then goes after. That's cool. I like that. Oh my god, this was pissing me off. The reason Gru got fired was because they didn't capture Brat. If it had nothing to do with the diamond. He was stuck to the wall in that scene. You had him right there. The reason they got fired was because Brad got away. Nobody gave a fuck about the diamond. What are you doing? Oh my goodness. Same thing applies to the ending, but I'll complain about that when we get there. Gru was way too selfish in the confrontation. That scene, I like how it ends. I don't like how it starts. Drew coming on with the, oh my god, you lied to me. How could you do this? Villain, why don't you want to be a villain anymore? I don't like how Gru is just too selfish in that scene. I would have liked if he started with, Drew, you don't understand. I love my wife. I love my wife. I want to do good in the world. I have a family to think about. I can't be doing villainous shit anymore because of that. And then Drew comes on with this selfishness of but I want to be this and that, and you're not thinking about your family legacy, and we stole the diamond together. And then it can escalate to, well, no wonder Dad thought you were a failure. You don't achieve anything. At least I had a job. Blah blah blah. But as it stands, it's just, why is Gru being such a dick? Immediately, like right off the bat, it's just, I understand Gru's whole character is kind of being a dick, kind of being a grouchy, moody guy, and that's great. But at the same time, that confrontation and the sympathy he shows to Drew in the air vent, it doesn't mix. Like, that's not the same person. And it's strange. I really liked when Gru was being sympathetic, and here he's not at all. So it's just so strange. I don't know. And that scene was just too short. It was generally just too short. That's the thing. All these emotional moments, the setup exists, yes, but the actual action of the confrontations, of the, like, the build up to the emotional scenes, it's too short. And then the culmination just feels kind of flat. And that sucks because there's so many plots going on. You could have cut out the Minions subplot completely. You could have had, I don't know, you could have taken some parts out to make these important scenes actually have that presence that they need to work. But you don't. For some reason. Like, I will die on this hill. Despicable Me, like the whole franchise, has a lot going for it. It really does. But they undercut themselves. They undercut Lucy, they undercut Brad, they undercut themselves when it comes to the writing. Because they just, I don't know why they do this. Do they genuinely not see that they have created a wonderful cast of characters that have a lot of, like, that can develop a lot of emotional attachment in the audience? And do they really just think that they made the Ha Ha Minions movie? Ha ha. The yellow guys are at it again. Ha ha. Look, he fell on the ground. Because, no, that's not... To interject from the future in a different angle and not filming from my front camera, that's why the quality's better. I wanted to also mention the fact that compared to the first movie, the minions don't have as much of a presence. If you go back and watch it, you realize that, oh, wait a second, they don't actually have a subplot of their own. They're just bit side characters who do a funny thing occasionally. And that's why I think it's so strange that they try to give them more presence in the later movies. I understand that's whatever, you can do whatever you want. But, like, it's so strange to think that Despicable Me became the Minions franchise when it isn't that, actually. The first movie basically barely had them. Like, all together, I could calculate this if I wanted to, but I don't because I have better things to do with my life. Like talking about Despicable Me, okay. But if you put it together, I'm pretty sure all the Minions stuff constitutes less than 10 minutes of the entire movie? Question mark? Like, if you put all the little scenes of the minions doing their own thing divorced from the plot, I would assume it's less than 10 minutes, less than 15 definitely, because they're just not that important. The first movie's creators seemingly realized that, oh wait, this movie isn't about them, this movie is about Gru and the girls, so like we'll focus on that. We can have the minions as little scene changers, as little comic relief characters, but otherwise they don't matter because they don't it's just they're just like there. There's so much more. There's so much more to the entire franchise. It's kind of like Ice Age in that way, you know? The first movie sets up an incredible cast of characters, amazing emotional potential, emotional connection to the characters, emotional impacts. And then the movies just keep going and they pretend like it doesn't exist. Or they don't realize it themselves. But, like, that's not true, though, is it? It's just they don't follow through. And I don't know why that is. Like, it's the same in these two franchises, Ice Age and Despicable Me, where they have the amazing characters, amazing setup for stories, but they veer into juvenile comedy instead of trying not trying, but instead of capitalizing on the basically free real estate that these characters offer. Which is so strange because, like, that is missed potential. Like, that is lost potential. I feel like people would kill for that amount of potential. But they just kind of squander it, and it's so sad. Yeah, it's not, yeah. Sometimes you wish for a unicorn, but life gives you a goat instead. Well, Lucky is the best goat ever. I really like that because I feel like not only is that just a wonderful outlook on life, not only is that like Agnes having like the lesson the child imparts on the adults, not losing whimsy in the world, blah blah blah. Love that. We love to see it. And also, I feel like it's applicable to Gru and Drew's relationship because in the beginning, I loved how excited Gru was to meet his long lost brother. And then when he sees what he's actually like, he's like, oh, okay. Like, that's applicable. He was expecting a unicorn, he got a goat instead. And then he made it work, and that's great. Okay, I hate this part so much because when Brad reveals that he was pretending to be Lucy to kidnap the girls, he says, now that was acting. And I'm like, no, you were a very bad actor there. He was watching the scene. It's great that you can pick up on, oh, that's not Lucy. That's great. But then when he says, now that was acting, no. Everybody saw through you. You just had a really convincing costume. That was not acting. So, what the fuck? Be quiet, loser. Oh, this one's nice. Drew's like, I don't want to talk to you guys, and Gru's like, Brad's got the girls. And he's immediately like, oh shit, okay, we're on our way. I really like that because, oh my god. Amazing. And then they have an apology scene. The apology scene could have been better, but it's serviceable. Um. Yeah, another thing. Why does Brad care about the girls? Because, like, it's so stupid. Like, I understand there's more stakes or whatever, but also, I don't. And it makes kind of sense why Vector cared so much. Hi, it is I from the future once again. I wanted to expand on this point about Vector and why I think that made more sense. The whole point of the movie was the emotional connection that Gru and the girls have, and Vector putting that to the stress test. That makes sense, and also it is shown that he is quite petty. He had some kind of relationship with these girls, considering the fact that he bought cookies from them, that he let them into his house. There's like a level of trust that he had towards these girls, and that makes sense to me. And it's like, oh shit, wait, they were working with him. Oh, and that, oh my goodness, I just realized that's why, fucking, in the second movie, it makes sense that what was his name? El Macho goes after Lucy because that whole plot is about Gru learning to open up and learning to open up to women and finding a romantic connection. And she is the person he does this with. That makes sense. It puts their relationships to the stress test, and that's great. And I love that. However, in Despicable Me 3 and 4, they go after the bad guys go after the kids when it doesn't really make sense because the point is, in the third movie it would have made more sense if it was Drew being kidnapped instead of the girls, and put their relationship to the stress test. And in that sense, I suppose it makes sense that in the fourth movie, the fucking baby is kidnapped or whatever. That I had things to say about that in the dedicated video, but that's my point. In this movie, it doesn't really make sense why Brad goes to get the girls, and I don't think I made this point in the video yet, but it would have made more sense in addition to the idea that Drew understands more about Brat's like lore and history and presence as a bad guy. It would have also been really interesting if perhaps Drew was like, "Hey, so like you don't want to be a bad guy anymore? I'm gonna go work with not Vector. I'm gonna go work with Brat then." And that's how that conflict goes. That would have been so interesting, but it doesn't happen because these creators don't realize what an interesting franchise they have and what they're doing. And I don't think you realize I would kill to work on these movies. This movie, it doesn't make sense why Brad cares about them so much. If they had shown some kind of like dislike for him before somehow, where he saw that they thought he was stupid and uncool, then I see that that's serviceable revenge. And like even revenge on Gru, it's just not established enough why he wants to make it so personal. Similarly to the people in the fourth movie. Yes, it raises the stakes if you go after the family, blah blah blah, but also it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. There's no reason. As they are going to Hollywood, Drew mentions that, oh, I remember this episode, this and that happens. And previously, during the heist, Drew mentions, oh, I used to have one of these figures. And that leads me to believe that he has more knowledge on this, like, Brat franchise or whatever, or like as a villain, but it's not used at all. And I think that's really, really stupid. I would have really liked to see that perhaps Drew has more knowledge about this, more knowledge about Brad. because that would have been so much more fun. And for example, in the scene where Gru is like talking through the plan of the heist, maybe he could have been like, "Oh, but the thing is like that and this," or during the heist, he could have been like, he had like just have more knowledge about the guy and the show, so that not only does he have a point, but there's like a more interesting like dynamic between Gru and Drew, where Gru doesn't have all the information and neither does Drew, so they have to work together. And that's so stupid, because in the like, he has this basic knowledge. He has seen some of the episodes of the thing, but he doesn't goes and takes the bubble gum. And I think that's just really stupid, like in general. Like, obviously it would have done that, buddy, but okay, whatever. Like, it is okay, set up resourcefulness for Gru to stick Brad to the wall. That was great. I love resourcefulness as a character trait, especially in movies. It's great. It's amazing. Mwah. Love to see it, but also it was just, it required a character to do something really incredibly stupid, and yes, he is really incredibly stupid as a character, but I feel like he was not that stupid. I would have liked more feralness from Brad. Like, after the robot comes down, Gru goes up, searches for Drew, where is he, where is he? And then Brad shows up, and he's just like, he's mad, but I would have wanted more. Like, he's just like, "Oh, you've beaten me for the last time," but I would have really liked him to almost like be almost like hunched over, being like, "Listen here, you motherfucker." Of course, not cursing, but like, just have that moment of snap where he loses this like just for a second he loses this character, and he's like genuinely pissed off, where he's like, you cannot see my whole body. Where he is just like genuinely like so mad. Like, he would just, if he could, he would rip him apart, and just have that like kind of animalistic moment, and then have Gru suggest the dance battle, and he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely." And I think that would have been so fun. And another point I have written down here, again, is about how the movie undercuts Brad as a villain. That delivery was the feralness, the animalism, the unbridled rage that was necessary. It's not just the voice actor. It's the animation. It's the direction of the entire thing. And like, it's so sad. Again, it's the wasted potential, because you had like the first heist scene was so fun. Like, if I was the Despicable Me villain, I would probably conduct myself similarly, because like, I am generally a very physical person. I show my anger very physically. I show my joy very physically. I don't show sadness very physically. But these active emotions that like bubble, you can't not see them on me. And it's like, it's amazing. Like, when I'm mad, I will like walk around, step around, be like, "Oh, God, I want to punch something." Or when I'm happy, I'll have like hands everywhere. And it's like, that's why I understand why Brad has like heist music and is so dancing around. It's great, and I love that. And he has this whole aesthetic, and you need it. Like, oh my God, Jesus Christ. You had Vector as an absolute nerd, and he had more presence than Brad. Brad needed more. He needed more. Like, he is so flashy already. He has so much potential to be fun and even scary, kind of. The Brat Pack, again, I have a point about this. Underutilized. There's just these tiny little things. One on their own. Nothing. But when they're coming at you all at once, that's terrifying. Underutilized. And just like generally, they did not use Balthazar Brad well enough. It's so sad. Gru can dance. I love that. And also, they should have made Brad more gay. I don't care. They should have done it. It was the 80s. Come on now, be so for real. Also, I would have loved more outfits. I would have loved more Brat outfits because he has the blue suit with the shoulder pads and he has the the workout thing with the leg and arm warmers and all. That's cute. I wanted more. I want more. Point. I love that Gru still has his villain laugh. Despite the fact that he's working for the good guys, he still chuckles like a supervillain, and I love that. It's great. It's just so good. It's so good. Okay, and now about the conclusion. So, okay. They still didn't detain Brat, which was the reason they got fired. The city is like fully destroyed. And it is partly their own fault because they didn't detain Brat the first time. Brat had time to come back and wreak havoc upon Hollywood. They are indirectly responsible for that. And people definitely died. Like there were buildings destroyed. Just no way people did not die. So how they got their jobs back, completely beyond me. These three things, Brat's still out, city destroyed, people definitely died. And not to mention the fucking indirect culpability to all of this. They should not have gotten their jobs back because what the fuck? That's insane. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, that was not a good ending. I mean, considering all of this. So yeah, I don't know. That was kind of stupid. That conclusion was not good. Like you just literally let him float away again. Just guys. And yeah, that's the whole movie. But one thing I didn't want to mention is the fact how I like how Gru is allowed to be a grouchy little shit. I like that. I don't know. I don't really remember if I mentioned this in the Despicable Me 4 video, but I like that he isn't like made to be like the sudden ray of sunshine. Like, no, he still has an attitude. He is honest and kind of blunt with people, and he doesn't like this overly preppy, overexcitable energy, and I like that about him. Like that's coming from me, who was that kind of person, still kind of is, who just has a kind of like negative lean in life, which is not particularly healthy, I'm aware, but it's like it's nice to see. I like that they don't change that about him. I think that's great. And the fact that he can still be nice. This is a very into the woods thing. How like nice, good, and what's the third one? Nice, good, and right. How they are different. How nice, good, and right are different. Gru is good, but he's not nice, and he's right very often. And that's I like that he doesn't have to be nice. He can be mean. And I like that because he is good. He is like coming from a good place. And he is coming from a right place. And that doesn't mean that he has to be nice. And it's just fun to watch him be a grouchy little guy. I'm gonna admit it. It's fun. I think he's funny. And yeah, those were my thoughts on Despicable Me 3. Despicable Me 3 and Despicable Me 4. So much potential wasted. I would love to rewrite this movie if I had the chance, but I do have better things to do. Like if I had the opportunity, if somebody called me up and was like, "Hey, we want to remake Despicable Me 3. Could you write the script or could you direct the movie?" I would love to do that. I would be so psyched to do that because there is so much potential, but it's wasted on cheap nothingness. It's like having, how do I even say this? It's like having a really nice cut of like having a Wagyu A5 steak, processing it into ground beef and making a McDonald's burger with it. Yes, it's still gonna be pretty good. Like there's gonna be good there's good things about it. And it's enjoyable. But it could have been so much more. Just so much more. But it's not because it was processed like that. And it's just so sad because like who decided that? Who looked at this franchise and was like, "Yeah, no. We're going to be doing haha minions instead. Haha, the butler gets abused for no reason. Ha ha ha, laugh now." Like, it's so stupid because like the same people who it's the same people who had these very nice sweet interactions between these characters who undercut them at the same time. It's the same people who came up with Balthazar Brat as a character who decided that he will not have any presence. They decided that yes, that line delivery was good enough. Who did just so like it's so overly safe. It doesn't want to risk anything. And so it's good enough, but it's not as good as it could have been. And that's really sad. So yeah, that's it for tonight, folks. See you again at hopefully the Tintin Plays video, which I changed my mind about what I'm gonna do, and it's gonna be really interesting. So stick around for that. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Keep calm, fan hard. Yeah.